Hi, welcome to Zgadgetreview. Before we get started, go ahead and subscribe by hitting the button or the little watermark. Thank you. Amazon recently announced that they're redesigning the remote for their Fire TV devices. They have decided to make it more colorful and to add more buttons to a remote that's supposed to be something that went back to basics and allow you to do things with the remote without making it look cluttered. This is what the Fire TV remote used to look like. As you can see, it's very simple. It has pretty much everything you need. The microphone button in order to talk to, Ale. The return, the home button. This button allows you to get extra information on what you're doing. You have play and rewind. And this little wheel right here allows you to move up or down, side to side, and you click here to decide to enter whatever information that you are doing or click on something in the screen. Now this felt more like a copy from an Apple devices. Apple had a remote that kind of looked like this for their own TV device. It is simple. You could say that it lacks some things that most remotes do that were actually added later on to the remote. Amazon then updated the remote and added certain extra buttons that were lacking that made things a little simpler. The idea was that if you're using this remote to control your TV, for example, as the name says it, Fire TV, it will make sense to have readily available a mute button and a volume button and a power button, just to make things easier. But if you still see the design hasn't changed that much, this remote actually is a little smaller than this other remote here. How do we do it? Here. If you see here, the chain is a little longer, this is a little shorter, but they were able to make this remote a little smaller and cram more stuff into it to make it more user-friendly. Now, the reason why this made sense is because you could command your TV by pressing the microphone and talking into the remote and telling the device what to do. So if you wanted to mute your TV, you could press the button and say mute. If you wanted to put the volume up or put the volume down. The problem sometimes is it might take too long for the device to respond to your command. So it makes sense that you will have a physical button making things easier to control. These two remotes are very different from the remotes that usually come with your TV. For example, I have this LG Magic Remote. As you can see, the remote has everything that you might need on a remote. And it makes sense because if you're using the remote to change channels and put a specific channel, you need a number pad. You need the volume up and down, channel up and down, the mute button. Then you have the microphone here because you can speak into the remote. Then you have the home button, which will take you to LG's WebOS device to bring up their menu. Then down here, we have another series of buttons that might be useless to most people. But the whole idea of this remote and most TV remotes nowadays is that you can use this as a universal remote. So the idea is that you can control your Blu-ray player, for example, because these are Blu-ray player buttons, which makes it easier and convenient. But as you can see, this remote obviously is a lot busier than this remote. And as I said, it kind of makes sense on why this remote will have more buttons than this ones. The Magic Remote, when you move it around, there's a little cursor that comes on the screen that you can control just by moving around that remote. But then we have the Vizio Remote. The Vizio Remote is more of a typical remote. This is from 2020 or 2019 TV. Then you have your buttons here for different services. You have Vudu, Netflix, Prime Video, Zumo, Hulu, and Redbox. You kind of have here the same thing, but it's a little less. So you have Netflix, Prime Video, and that's it. This, of course, is changing with 2021 TVs. The 2021 remote for LG is going to have something more like this. But it's the same idea. You have your little panel to choose, your OK button menu. This remote has pretty much the same amount of buttons as this one does. It doesn't make it look as busy. It is lacking the play pause button that this one has, because once again, this is designed to be used as a universal remote versus this one isn't. Sony's remotes. And these remotes are for Blu-ray players. This is an older remote for Sony for a Blu-ray player that could do 3D movies. And this is an Ultra HD, so 4K Blu-ray player. As you can tell, the remote has gotten smaller, has gotten thinner, and they have gotten rid of a bunch of buttons because the industry was going into a more simple design for remotes. Sony decided to simplify the remote to kind of match what devices like Fire TV and Apple TV was doing. The idea is that this remote can also be used as a universal remote. Here, all by its lonesome, you have a tiny, small Netflix button. This remote is from either 2012 or 2014. I can't remember exactly when. But as you can tell, the remote is big, which all remotes during that time were big things. And as you can tell, Netflix wasn't what it is today. So a tiny Netflix remote button there is all you needed. You didn't have this big branding like things do now. But if you see today, the newer remote from Sony shows how things have changed when it comes to remotes. And you have this big branded Netflix button here, and you have just the basic stuff that you need. You can still use this as a universal remote to a smaller capacity because obviously you don't have the number buttons. But at the same time, how many people do actually put in the number channel with their buttons? I mean, we have so many channels nowadays. So why am I talking about remotes, right? Why, like, what's the point of all this? There is a point. My point is that with Amazon's announcement of their new remote, which is going to look like this, which is going to change from a minimal design to a busier design for some reason. I mean, I know the reason. We'll get to it in a minute. It makes it seem like companies are going to start trending back towards horrors like this. And so I was a little disappointed when I saw that Amazon was going towards the way they're going with their new remote design, because I was happy that we were going towards something like this. And I feel like now companies are starting to trend the other way, which means that we're going to start getting all these super busy remotes that are cumbersome and annoying to use, where you might press the wrong button and go to the place where you weren't trying to go to. Now, I know why Amazon is doing this. The reason is money. The reason why LG has Netflix and Amazon on the remotes here is because Netflix and Amazon paid money to be there. The reason why Vizio has them up here is because they paid money to be here. And not only they pay money to be on the remote, but they pay money to have placing within the remote. Believe it or not, these companies study how you hold the remote, where you put your finger. The reason why Prime Video is right below the power button is because if you're not paying attention, you could press the Prime Video button by mistake instead of your power button. That costs money because it means that you are more likely to check out Prime Video when you turn on your TV by pressing Prime Video by mistake. That's not really how things work, but companies believe that you're looking for this, which is why Amazon is doing what they're doing, and they're adding these extra 4 remotes for Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon, which, as you can tell, did not exist before on either of the iterations of the remotes. They have also rebranded the microphone button to the Alexa button in order to make sure that you don't forget that this is what Amazon uses, because it hasn't been ingrained into your brain by now that Alexa works for Amazon or with Amazon products. I get it. I get the remote is a type of marketing, but why was it okay not to have marketing on a remote up to last year, but it's necessary now? I personally wish that we keep going towards minimalism when it comes to remotes. I feel like the least amount of buttons in it, the easier it is to use, to make less mistakes when you're pressing buttons and you press something that you don't want, that you didn't mean to press, and then you get aggravated because you were watching something and you wanted to pause, but you press the channel up button by mistake or something. It happens. I just wish the remotes stay simple and not more difficult. Do you have any opinions about remotes like I do? Do you think that it's a mistake that Amazon is doing what they're doing to their Fire TV remote? Let me know in the comment section. That's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. Thank you very much for watching.